Biblical miracles. That's what we're talking about tonight on the Modern Kingsman podcast. Continuing our religious series today, we're going to hop on in and we're going to talk about some interesting miracles or things that are supernatural, as one might say, located in the confines of the Holy Scriptures.
Yep. So we decided we were going to go a little bit more lighthearted today as we continue this religious series. And we're going to cover the top, well, not top, but just 10 of the most interesting and unexpected miracles that occurred in the Scriptures. 100% true, accurate, they happened, but it's just very odd and interesting. So, a little bit humorous, actually, too.
Yeah.
So, we'll have a brief overview of a miracle. We'll include the verse that's cited in them. And forgive us if we're somewhat not 100% accurate in our recollection of these, but we just wanted to share some of these funny ones. So, number 10, Elisha makes an iron axe head float. It's completely random, but it's 2 Kings 6, 1-7, and this is just a snippet. It says, as one was cutting down a tree, the iron axe head fell into the water. And, quote, oh no, my lord, it was borrowed. Elisha then cuts a stick, throws it into the water, and makes the iron axe head float.
Oh no, it was borrowed?
Essentially, somebody dropped an axe head in the water, and he was like, dude, we just borrowed that.
It's not even mine. And you know what? In my mind, as we pull these up here, like it floating to the top, I was kind of imagining like the hand out like the Force, I'll be honest with you. But he picked up a stick and threw the stick in there. I'm kind of thinking like little baby Groot is now, where he puts his hand in and just the axe just comes on up. What?
Yes.
Well, that's real kind of him. Oh my gosh, I wrecked my car. It was borrowed. Don't worry, I got you, brah.
Also, it's important to note, like, there was multiple other prophets around at the time of this, apparently. So,
was it just showing off then?
It might have been. It might have been.
Now, was this Elijah or Elisha?
Elisha.
Elisha. That's not the one with like the Baal bring fire, right?
No, Elijah is like the OG, and then like Elisha's the protege.
The protege, the non-OG.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
So
that's hilarious.
Also, this list doesn't. I don't believe it does. Let me check here real quick. No, it doesn't. So it's not in this list, but I have to include this one, okay? Because it's wild. So I may not recite it 100% accurately, but there's a passage in the Bible where I believe it's Elijah. There are kids making fun of Elijah. He literally calls a bear out of the woods, and it mauls the kids because they were making fun of him being bald.
Dude, don't make fun of bald people. Dude, can you imagine that? Oh my golly.
There's like a group of like middle schoolers or high schoolers making fun of a bald guy, and he's like, bear.
Get him. That is
wild.
Yeah, not that, not Lord open the freaking earth and drop him down. No, send fire. Get a bear.
Wild.
Yeah.
Anyway, that wasn't on the list, but I just had to bring I had to bring that up. Number 9, Jesus heals a blind man with spit and mud. So I'll read the verse. This is from the NIV. This is a snippet of the verse. After saying this, he spit on the ground, made some mud with the saliva, and put it on the man's eyes. Go, he told him, wash in the pool of Siloam. So the man went and washed and came home seeing.
Often, I don't know why the Lord chose to do certain things. And by often, I mean all the time. But this one in particular, why? Why?
So,
Is it the fact that he wanted him to go to the pool of Siloam? Probably, because if he just healed him, he would not have gone to the pool. He would have just been healed.
no. So, the exact answer, I think we probably will never know. Possibly. My immediate thought is probably that it related to that man something powerful. So here's the reason I say that, and the reason I think is possibly true. I read a book once that bruh.
Cat in the Hat, man.
They're like fiction, but like biblical fiction.
Yeah.
So they're not actually 100% accurate, but they try to be as accurate as they can while being entertaining fictional stories.
Sure, adding in a little bit of literary license.
Yes. And they don't claim to be, theologically accurate. But one of the stories, and it's a whole novel, is about this man that Jesus heals. And it goes, I'm not going to explain the whole story of the book, but essentially, it's a very powerful story about what could have been that man's life and how that tied into his story.
I love that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So to us, it's just an odd statement, but could have had a really profound impact on that individual.
That's actually kind of worth noting. The Bible as...
That's why I noted it.
Often we'll hear one or two sentences in the Bible, but there's so much more going on. It'd be like looking at just seeing 1 minute of someone's day without realizing they had everything else in their whole life, and we do them for 1 minute. There's always more happening.
Sentence even.
Yeah, there's so much more going on than we'll ever know. So anyway, that's it's did he have to do that? Maybe, I don't know. Was there significance? Probably, but keep going. I like it.
Number 8, Balaam's donkey. This is just off the cuff wild.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, there's a man in the Old Testament. I don't think his past is really pertinent to this, but he has a donkey, and he beats the donkey.
Just keeps running into a wall and crushing his leg.
He beats the donkey 3 times. And I'm not sure the exact what came first or whatever, but essentially an angel appeared in front of the donkey. The man could not see the donkey, or could not see the angel, excuse me. The donkey could. Again, this is just bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
The donkey stops, obviously, because there's an angel standing in front of it. Again,
Balaam 100% whacks the donkey again.
100% accurate story. This actually happened. He whacks the donkey, okay? And God allows the donkey to speak. And then once the donkey talks, and the guy's then God opens the eyes of the man to see the angel. He's like, oh, snap. That's what's going on here.
Yeah. Little interesting factoids here. 1, the donkey was a female. There's a little random note there. But also...
Are we interested in knowing what the donkey said?
You know what? I am interested in knowing what the donkey said.
Okay, this is what the NIV verse says, okay? Then the Lord opened the donkey's mouth, and it said, Balaam, which was the man's name, what have I done to you to make you beat me these 3 times? Essentially, bruh. Then the Lord opened Balaam's eyes, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the road with his sword drawn.
So maybe sometimes animals act weird for a reason. I think it's worth noting here. Yeah, you know what? I'm going with that one.
Okay.
But it's worth noting that for some reason, the author of this passage did not feel it relevant, maybe because it wasn't, that Balaam did not freak out when his donkey talked to him. The following passage is him talking to the donkey.
Yeah.
He's just like, well, I guess you could talk this whole time. I mean...
As if it was an everyday occurrence.
Yeah.
You
What is
would
this,
have thought-
Chronicles of Narnia?
You would have thought they would have mentioned it. But anyway.
Oh my gosh. Is this where we get from Shrek a talking donkey?
No.
Maybe. Oh my gosh.
No.
Is Shrek biblical?
No.
Nope. We're going to go there.
Okay.
All right.
We're not going there. It's not even remotely related. Number 7, the sun stands still for Joshua. So essentially, Joshua is fighting a battle, and the sun actually stands still during that time.
Because
Now,
they need more time to fight.
yes, so I'm going to read this. It was the Amorites that they were fighting. Joshua prays, and God causes the sun and moon to stop for, I believe it's 24 hours.
Yeah, I don't remember how long.
I think I'll read the verse. I think the Bible. I think it says a day. This is what it says. Joshua said to the Lord in the presence of Israel, "Sun, stand still over Gibeon, and you, moon, over the valley of." I don't know how to pronounce that. So the sun stood still, and the moon stopped, till the nation avenged itself on its enemies. The sun stopped in the middle of the sky and delayed going down about a full day. There has never been a day like it before or since. Now, here's the crazy part. I don't know the legitimacy of this, but there are actually scientists who think they can pinpoint the exact day that this happened, or a very close range to the exact day that this occurred, because of the solar system and the gravitational differences between different what's the word?
Planets?
No, the
Orbits?
the different orbits around different planets, especially in our solar system. They think they can, because they pinpointed a time in which they estimated that the sun would have not obviously rotated around the Earth, and then they backdated it to the estimate time, and it exactly lines up to the estimated time that Joshua was alive.
That would be fascinating to see that, like the rundown, the calculation, because I know other cultures historically have kept records.
Yes.
For all of human history.
And it's across multiple records in different religions and societies.
Yeah, can you imagine you're just in the middle of your day. You're like, all right, hey guys, we get to go inside when the sun goes down, and it doesn't.
Dude.
That's a long day. The amount of confusion for those people on that day.
Well, not only that, but more so the people on the other side of the planet.
It's like,
Imagine
where's the sun?
It's night for 2 days.
Dude, you would definitely think the world had ended. Some curse fell on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that'd freak people out.
Anyway.
Dude, when our internet goes down, we think it's the end of the world.
Yeah. That's Joshua 10, 12 through 14. Number 6, Elisha, again, raises a dead boy by laying on him. Okay, I'm going to read the verse. Elisha got on the bed and lay on the boy, mouth to mouth, eyes to eyes, hands to hands. As he stretched himself out on him, the boy's body grew warm. Elisha turned away and walked back and forth in the room, and then got on the bed and stretched out on him once more. The boy sneezed 7 times and opened his eyes. Funny enough, I don't think I've actually read that verse in person until just now.
Really?
Yeah.
The weirdest part of that verse to me is the eye to eye.
I'm reading it, I'm like, man, that is very interesting. I've heard of this story, but I don't think I've actually read the reference itself. But yeah, it's a And he sneezes 7 times. It's an odd thing to include in the verse.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, of all the way, imagine you're Elisha and you're like, I'm going to perform a miracle on this boy to bring him back to life. And you're like, you know how I'm going to do it?
He looks chilly.
I'm going to lay on him twice.
Yeah. And, I don't know when the whole bless you thing came along. How many sneezes until the guy's annoyed? 7 sneezes?
That would be a lot of sneezing.
That's a lot of sneezes. When's the last time you know someone who sneezed 7 times in a row?
I've sneezed 3 times in a row.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 3, 2 and 3, acceptable. 4, what's going on? 5, get out of here. 7? I know, Grant, he did just come back from the dead.
Yeah, I mean,
so
still odd, but just
the whole story.
A unique,
weird.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No. 2 Kings 4:32 through 37.
Okay.
Number 5. A man comes back to life by touching Elisha's bones.
Okay, what's the reference on this one?
Also, I'm starting to notice a trend here, and that's Elisha.
Yes. Well, he was given a double portion, if I'm not mistaken.
You're 100% correct.
Mm-hmm.
He asked for a double portion.
Dude, the confidence to ask for a double portion after, let's assume that Elisha saw Elijah do the bail and fire thing.
Okay.
I doubt he saw it, but if he did see it, then he's like, I'd like to see double.
Well, that's not what he asked, but yes. Anyway, this is 2 Kings 13:20 through 21. This is the verse. Elisha died and was buried. Now Moabite raiders used that's interesting. Sorry. Now Moabite raiders used to enter the country every spring. Once while some Israelites were burying a man, suddenly they saw a band of raiders. So they threw the man's body into Elisha's tomb. When the body touched Elisha's bones, the man came to life and stood up on his feet. The interesting thing that points out to me is that Elisha's tomb was just like
open. That's an interesting little detail there.
And it says, now I don't know the accuracy of this, but it says, because of the translation, they threw the man's body into the tomb, which makes it sound like they threw him down.
Mm-hmm.
So was Elisha just like in a hole in the ground?
Yeah, is this like a shallow grave? Is this like a cistern?
Or was it more like a tomb when they threw him sideways?
And
he just bumped into him.
I don't know.
Because historically, I could be incorrect here, but I don't think burying in the ground like down was a very common practice then.
I don't know in that area of land specifically.
Because you hear a lot about tombs, and they're made for burial. Now, I don't know the historical accuracy of those, but it seems odd that he would just be like laying in a hole in the ground.
Yeah, no one covered him up. Like for his bones to be exposed?
Well, that's why I think the tomb makes more sense. Mm-hmm. But again, why was it not sealed?
I don't know what the Moabites were doing.
They were raiders, so they may have raided the tomb.
They were tomb raiders.
Oh, boy. I should have saw that coming.
So, all right, question related to tomb raiding, as is relevant. When do you cross the line between grave robbing and archaeology? Like
It's the same thing.
How old does something have to be when you...
Not your...
Asking for a friend.
This is besides the point. Okay.
Fine. Number
4. Peter's... that is a wild... Peter's shadow heals the sick. The apostles perform many signs and people lay sick in the streets, so that when Peter walks by, his shadow will touch them, and they will be healed.
That's pretty remarkable. Like, the faith there. That's remarkable. Wow.
Yes. The verse says, as a result, people brought the sick into the streets and laid them on beds and mats, so that at least Peter's shadow might fall on some of them as he passed by. Crowds gathered also from the towns around Jerusalem, bringing their sick and those tormented by impure spirits. All of them were healed.
That's just interesting.
Imagine the amount of spiritual power that Peter had, that his shadow would physically heal people. Not like, let me touch you and pray, and then you'll be healed. But like, he was so filled with the power of the Spirit that his shadow would heal people.
Remarkable. Now, imagine, now this is going to sound silly, if you didn't know exactly what was going on and your hip just hurt and you happened to walk by him, like, oh, my hip feels better.
That is it. Definitely things to ponder. Interesting. Interesting things. Number 3. This is one of my personal favorite interesting miracles. Jesus curses a fig tree and it withers away. Essentially, Jesus was hungry and he finds a fig tree with leaves on it, but it doesn't have any figs. So he curses it.
Yeah, this one's always been bizarre because, and correct me if I'm wrong, didn't I hear like it wasn't at the time where there should have been figs on it anyway? There's all sorts of details I don't know here.
I've heard that before. I don't know the accuracy of it.
Yeah, I haven't verified that.
But I've definitely heard that. Here, I'm going to read the verse. Seeing in the distance a fig tree in leaf, he went to find out if it had any fruit. When he reached it, he found nothing but leaves, because it was not the season for figs. So there you go, right there. Then he said to the tree, may no one ever eat fruit from you again. In the morning, as they went along, they saw the fig tree withered from the roots.
Why? What? It's interesting this is listed as a miracle. I mean, it is a supernatural act.
Yeah.
But it's like life was removed from a tree. I would love, I'm going to read like 3 or 4 theologians on this just to see what they think of this. Because this is a little weird. Now, you said you like this. Why do you like this?
Because this is one of the only one that I can think of off the top of my head. And I always stop and think about it every time I do. But where there seems to be no... Jesus takes life without a pre-known reason for it. Which is, obviously, Jesus is holy and just in all things that he does. Which means he was just in doing that. But understanding how that applies is what always puzzles me. Is it just merely the fact that he's the creator of the universe, he giveth and he taketh away? If so, that's fine. But I feel like it's a little bit deeper than that. Jesus often spoke in parables. And a lot of what he did was spoke and acted in a way that showed what he was trying to teach. he gave examples quite often.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this was in some way an example of something, not just... And maybe the example is that there was no reason. Simply that he had the power to do it.
Just like a flex?
Not a flex, but the world is his to do with as he pleases. It's just always been interesting to me because it's not easily understood.
Yeah, this one's not clear.
No, it's not. And I always found it very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
So, please comment your thoughts and opinions on this verse because it's always very interesting to me. If it would have been like in season, that would have made total sense.
Yeah. But because it's out of season, I'm looking this up later.
Yes. Anyway. All right. Number 2. Philip is supernaturally transported. Okay. That sounds a little weird, but it seems to be exactly what happened. Let's read the verse. When they came up out of the water, the Spirit of the Lord suddenly took Philip away, and the eunuch did not see him again, but went on his way rejoicing. Philip, however, appeared at Azotus. Is that the correct way to pronounce that? Someone correct me on that.
No. You nailed it.
Ozatus. Anyway, and traveled about, preaching the gospel in all the towns until he reached Caesarea. I knew that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he just assisted in a baptism.
Yes, he had just baptized the eunuch.
Mm-hmm.
And then it says the Lord suddenly took Philip away.
That's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Now, okay, so let's play that out, okay? Questions. So, Philip's in the water, all right? He just dunked the eunuch,
mm-hmm.
all right? Then he gets transported. Do you think his clothes were dry when he hit his destination?
Yes.
Yes,
I do. Here's what I find interesting. Okay. It very specifically says, the eunuch did not see him again, but went on his way rejoicing. My immediate reaction would have been, A, where the heck did he go? And 2, am I insane?
Yeah, did I just dream this whole thing? But no, he just had a full experience with this guy.
And just was like, guess he's gone.
Wonderful!
Yeah, like, that would not have been my reaction to the situation. But apparently that was his. So, Number 1, very bizarre miracle. Ezekiel's Valley of Dry Bones coming to life. Now, if you've not heard of this, buckle up, because here's what happened. God shows Ezekiel a valley full of very dry bones. Ezekiel prophesies, and the bones come together, and they essentially act as if they are alive.
I'll be honest with you. I just played that out in my head, and all I could see is spooky, scary skeletons.
I'm going to read the verse because this is crazy. The hand of the Lord was on me, and he brought me out by the Spirit of the Lord and set me in the middle of a valley. It was full of bones. And it skips a section here. Quote, prophesy to these bones and say to them, dry bones, hear the word of the Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says to these bones. I will make breath enter you, and you will come to life. And then it goes back to Ezekiel, as I was prophesying, there was a noise, a rattling sound, and the bones came together, bone to bone. I looked, and tendons and flesh appeared on them, and skin covered them, but there was no breath in them. Then he said to me, prophesy to the breath. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and breath entered them. They came to life and stood up on their feet, a vast army.
What a day.
I wonder if this is the origin of a lot of like the skeleton armies that are in common like fiction.
I was thinking Lord of the Rings
today's,
as this one.
Yeah.
Yep.
I wonder if this has some portion to do with that.
It could be, because I don't know what happens next in that story. They're referred to like an army's worth of people.
Mm-hmm.
Did they just go and fight?
I don't think that was the point.
Right. But why would you use you use that terminology if it wasn't to then? I mean, then what happened to them? Did they just collapse? Did they go into the world? I have questions. Did they die again?
I don't know that they were alive.
I don't know.
Well, maybe, I guess.
Yeah, it sounds like they were.
Sounds like they were.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says they came to life and stood up on their feet. That is very interesting.
You know, the Old Testament prophets, some of them behaved very strangely by modern, by anyone's standards. But they've seen some stuff, so maybe we should give them a little bit of slack.
Yes. In any case.
Bizarre,
but each of them has a reason for the story. And while they're somewhat humorous and also very interesting and thought-provoking, they all have a purpose. Mm-hmm. There's a understanding to be had from each of these stories and miracles. They all were performed for a purpose. And I think it's a good idea for each of us to take some time to, not only these miracles, but all of them, to study and ponder them. Because they happen for a reason. They're not just wild miracles for no reason.
No, they're wild miracles for a reason, and I have no idea what some of those reasons are.
No, but it's a good reason to read about them.
Mm-hmm.
So you can learn.
Read up, my friends.